In a world not too far from today, people are created in labs like Thanksgiving turkeys, perfect and programmed down to the smallest detail. In this world, there's a big book that classifies people. The lab-made folks are called valids, shiny, and perfect. But those born the normal way, they're called invalids, seen as less perfect because they might get sick easier or even, shock, lose their hair. Don't get me wrong, the law says you shouldn't treat people differently based on their genes. But let's be honest, laws are often broken in secret. Employers are very sneaky. They might check your urine or even test your application envelope to see your genetic makeup. If you're an invalid, you end up with the less desirable jobs. Our hero, Vincent, has a morning routine. He cleans himself thoroughly, then destroys any hair or skin flakes that fall off. He keeps someone else's urine in the fridge, because sometimes you have to bend the rules, and sets it up so he can pretend it's his own. He even has a fake fingertip filled with blood for the finger prick tests at work. Vincent works at the amazing space company, Gattaca. Every day starts with a blood test. Today, like every day, he tricks the machina with his fake fingertip. At his desk, he's great at planning space flights, but he's also obsessive about cleaning, making sure no trace of his DNA is left. The boss visits, likes how clean Vincent's workspace is, and surprises him. Vincent's going to Titan, one of Saturn's moons, in just a week. After the boss leaves, Vincent playfully scatters his own hair and skin around. Jump to the pre-mission checkup. Vincent uses his stored sample, hands it over, and bingo! The machine reads it as Jerome, a top-tier valid. All clear. Later, as another rocket takes off, Vincent's friend Irene comes over. She's all smiles and congratulates him on his big opportunity. Vincent is the only one at his big space company, Gattaca, who watches every rocket launch into the sky, day after day. It's like how some people can't miss an episode of their favorite TV show. Vincent can't miss a launch. Rewinding to the start, Vincent wasn't born in a fancy lab, but rather from a spontaneous romantic moment on the beach. Yep, his parents had a bit too much fun, and suddenly, Vincent was on his way. Back then, being born the normal way was as rare and surprising as seeing a dinosaur walking down the street. Right from the start, Vincent's prospects looked grim. The doctors tested his blood and warned he might only live 30 years. Growing up, every little cold or cut was a big deal, especially to his worried mom. Schools didn't want him because his genes were considered a big risk. Eventually, Vincent's parents decided to have another child, this time using science. Enter Anton, the perfect child in every way. Vincent and Anton played games like, who can swim the farthest in the ocean before giving up? Anton always won, leaving Vincent behind, which didn't make Vincent feel any better about himself. Despite his family issues and being at a genetic disadvantage, Vincent dreamed of space. He wanted to be an astronaut more than anything, even though his parents told him to forget it, that no space agency would hire someone with his genetic background. But Vincent didn't give up. He went to many interviews, but always got rejected, just as his parents said he would. Then, one day, the brothers went for a swim, and, surprisingly, Vincent outswam Anton, turning the tables. But the victory was short-lived. Anton got so exhausted, Vincent had to help him back to shore. That night, Vincent decided to leave home to pursue his dreams. Starting at the bottom, he got a job at Gattaca, not as an astronaut, but as a janitor. Even while he cleaned, he never lost sight of his goal. Whenever he could, he would secretly learn everything he could about the rockets he hoped to one day join, despite the head janitor mocking him for his big dreams. Vincent never stops working hard. He exercises in his apartment, pushing himself to the limit because he has a big plan. One day at work, he sees a small sensor fall off a machine. Vincent grabs it quickly, seeing his chance. His dream is to be an astronaut, but with his genetics, it's like a penguin wishing it could be a polar bear. Desperate to change his destiny, he explores the underground market and meets Jerome, a former swimming star with excellent health and intelligence, but paralyzed from the waist down due to a car accident. Luckily for Vincent, this accident wasn't widely known, so Jerome's DNA is still considered top-notch. Vincent makes a deal with Jerome and starts changing himself. He swaps his glasses for contact lenses to match Jerome's eye color, gets a haircut like Jerome's, and even undergoes a painful procedure to lengthen his legs to match Jerome's height. Going to great lengths indeed. He moves into Jerome's apartment, and while recovering from his leg surgery, he learns to copy Jerome's signature and practices writing with his other hand. Jerome, now preferring to be called Eugene, continues to provide Vincent with clean samples of his blood and urine. However, Vincent faces a problem when he finds one of the urine samples contains alcohol. Jerome had been drinking. After a quick panic and searching, Vincent finds a clean sample just in time for his big day. On the day of Vincent's job interview, he passes the urine test easily, and his high IQ, thanks to Jerome's credentials, gets him the job immediately. Every day, Vincent carefully removes any traces of his own DNA, burning any fallen skin or hair and sealing his clothes to avoid contamination. At work, he cleverly places Jerome's DNA around his desk and uses the fake fingertip filled with Jerome's blood for daily checks. It seems like the perfect crime, until there's a shocking twist. The company administrator is found murdered in the office with a keyboard. As everyone panics, Jerome casually scratches his eye, and an eyelash falls out, unnoticed by everyone but the police who are about to search the place for DNA. The boss tells Irene, another employee, to assist the cops in any way she can. Vincent, using a borrowed identity, just got approved for his space mission. He and Jerome, the real owner of the identity, decide to celebrate big by going out, drinking, and having fun with smoke tricks, just because they can. Meanwhile, back at the office, Irene, a co-worker who likes to investigate things, secretly takes a hair from Vincent's desk. She's not just being nosy, she's trying to find out if Vincent is a good match by sending the hair to a service that checks these things. However, the celebration takes a serious turn. Jerome, feeling loose from the drinks, reveals a big secret. He didn't have his car accident because he was drunk. It was actually a desperate attempt to escape his own sadness. The next day, as Vincent and Jerome deal with their headaches, the story gets more complicated. The police, digging into the case, find out that someone with poor genetics has been sneaking around Gattaca. They suspect Vincent. Vincent isn't just waiting around. He uses a small sensor he took while he was a janitor and attaches it to Jerome's chest. He makes Jerome move his wheelchair fast to simulate a strong heartbeat. At work, when Vincent needs to use a treadmill, he swaps the office sensor with the one he rigged. But then, detectives find DNA from an eyelash that leads them to a janitor who disappeared years ago. They come to Gattaca with tough questions while Vincent gets really nervous. Just as his fake heartbeat tape ends, his real, fast-beating heart takes over. In a panic, he runs to the locker room and collapses, exhausted and scared. After things calm down, Irene finds Vincent and shares her feelings. She has seen his DNA, actually Jerome's, and is amazed by how perfect it is. She shares her own genetic flaws and her crushed hopes of going to space. Vincent comforts her, and she offers him a lock of her hair to test. But Vincent, keeping his cool, lets the hair blow away, blaming the wind. Sometime later, Vincent is working on his computer at work when suddenly, all the screens show the face of a wanted man, the notorious invalid linked to the found eyelash. Despite his face being everywhere at Gattaca, Vincent is relieved. No one recognizes him. Still, it scares him. At his hideout, Vincent tells Jerome everything, panicked and ready to get rid of their stash of incriminating blood and urine samples. Jerome, calm as always, grabs his arm, reminding him that no one would ever think that Vincent, who seems so perfect, could be an invalid. To avoid suspicion, Vincent decides to go ahead with his usual plans for the evening. Looking out the window, Jerome sees Irene arriving to pick up Vincent. They go on what turns out to be their first date, a piano concert. During the concert, the pianist throws his glove into the audience. Vincent notices the pianist has 12 fingers and is amazed. Irene whispers that only someone with 12 fingers could play such complicated music. What a moment! Meanwhile, the detectives are trying hard to find the invalid linked to the eyelash by rounding up other invalids. But they find nothing. They decide to check buildings close to Gattaca, including Jerome's apartment. A detective, confused by Jerome's use of a wheelchair, questions if he really works at the high-tech space company. Jerome, pretending to be offended, accuses the detective of discrimination, which makes the detective leave without any more questions. Back at Gattaca, the police are careful, taking away trash bags that might have clues. After their eventful date, Vincent and Irene run into a police roadblock, with officers everywhere checking people. Thinking quickly, Vincent removes his contacts and avoids a spit test by saying he's been drinking. The officers decide to take a blood sample instead, but Vincent's fake fingertip tricks them again. After they get past the roadblock, Irene, excited, tells Vincent she has something to show him. She stops the car and runs across the street, moving easily between cars. Vincent, now without his contacts, hesitates because his vision is blurry. After hesitating for a moment, Vincent quickly runs across the street, luckily avoiding the cars. Irene takes him to see the sunrise at a solar panel center, where the reflections make everything look dreamy, especially to Vincent, who can't see well without his contacts. As they leave, Irene notices something strange about Vincent's eyes. He quickly says it's just the light playing tricks. Back at the detective's office, they find a breakthrough. A cup from the office trash has the same DNA as the infamous eyelash. The detectives start to think that the person they're looking for might be pretending to work at Gattaca and could be involved in the boss's death. They go to Gattaca with a new plan, to draw blood directly from everyone's arm. No more tricks with fingertips. When it's Vincent's turn, he yelps loudly, saying the needle hurt him too much. During the fuss, he switches his blood sample with one from Jerome. The tests show nothing wrong, so the detectives are confused again. That evening, Vincent and Irene try to have a nice second date with some dancing, but the police show up, looking for DNA on everything from napkins to cigarette butts. They start testing everyone there. Vincent quickly pulls Irene and they run out the back door. When a police officer blocks them, Vincent knocks him out and pulls Irene into the shadows to hide. A detective yells out, "Vincent!" into the night, making Irene wonder who Vincent is. Instead of answering, he kisses her. Their night continues, and they end up at Irene's place, getting closer. The next morning, Vincent sees a hair on the pillow and, feeling paranoid, he goes to the beach to scrub off any loose skin with sand and rocks, as if trying to remove all traces of himself. Back at the apartment, Irene sees scars on his legs and asks about them. Vincent says they're from a car accident. Meanwhile, the detectives, still trying to solve the case, compare Jerome's and Vincent's profiles more closely, feeling something is not right. They go back to Gattaca, focusing on collecting evidence from Vincent's keyboard and digging deeper, but they still mistakenly call him by Jerome's name. Here, Irene, quick to react, overhears detectives looking for Vincent. She throws them off track by claiming Vincent has gone home sick, a classic cough excuse. Vincent gets the message and quickly leaves the building while Irene tells the detective that Vincent had to leave because he felt sick. Meanwhile, Vincent is on the phone with Jerome, warning him that the police are on their way. Jerome, with great effort, leaves his wheelchair and crawls up the stairs, managing to let Irene and the detective into the building just in time. He quickly sits back in his wheelchair, arranges his legs, and prepares himself. When Irene and the detective enter, Jerome, pretending well, asks for a kiss from Irene to make their story believable. She goes along with it, and the detective, fooled, takes Jerome's blood sample. It matches perfectly with Jerome's supposed identity. Just as the detective is about to check the basement, where all the real secrets are hidden, he gets a call. His partner has caught the real killer, which abruptly ends his search. The detective leaves quickly, letting everyone breathe a sigh of relief. Irene sees Vincent standing with Jerome, and suddenly, she understands everything. Feeling betrayed, she leaves quickly, and even though Vincent follows her to explain he's not a murderer, she won't listen. Back at the station, the truth comes out. The real killer was the director, who had spit in the victim's eye. The director had a big dream, the Titan mission, and he wasn't going to let the administrator stop it. Just when things seem resolved, Vincent returns to his desk to find someone he hasn't seen since he was a teenager. His brother Anton, now a detective. They hadn't recognized each other at first because of the years and changes between them. But as Anton puts the pieces together, he accuses Vincent of being a fraud and threatens to arrest him. The reunion quickly turns bitter, with Vincent arguing that Anton is just trying to see him fail again, reminding him of their last victorious swim as kids. Driven by old rivalries, Anton challenges him, and by nightfall, the brothers are at the beach, ready to face off over old and new grudges. There they are, Vincent and his brother Anton, diving into the ocean at night, like two kids taking on a dare. They swim out so far that the land looks far away. Anton starts to feel the distance and worries they've gone too far. Vincent, always loving a challenge, teases him for being scared, and they swim deeper. But soon, Anton gets really tired. He admits he's worn out. That's when Vincent reveals his tactic. He always uses all his energy, even when he knows he has to swim back. Tired and upset, Anton starts to swim back but struggles. Without hesitating, Vincent quickly helps him back to the shore safely. Later, Vincent visits Irene with a strand of his hair, hoping to fix things. But Irene lets the hair blow away in the wind. They spend one more night together before Vincent leaves for his year-long space mission. The next day, Vincent returns to his apartment to find it covered in plastic. Jerome, the real mind behind the identity Vincent used, shows him bags of samples, hinting he won't be around when Vincent returns. Jerome says cryptically, "I'm traveling too," and gives Vincent a card, telling him to open it only in space. As Vincent gets ready to leave Earth, a new rule at Gattaca requires a fresh urine sample. Caught without Jerome's prepared sample, Vincent's dream almost falls apart. But the doctor, who secretly has a child with bad genetics, understands and fixes the test by using Jerome's clean profile, saving Vincent's chance to go to space. The doctor reveals he always knew Vincent's secret because of which hand Vincent used at the machine, a detail that could have exposed him. Meanwhile, Jerome, alone with his thoughts, steps into an incinerator, choosing his own end. As Vincent leaves Earth, he opens Jerome's card and finds a lock of Jerome's hair, Jerome's way of reaching the stars. In the end, both men find their escape, one into space and the other to the peace he wanted, each taking a part of the other to their new beginnings.